is mine. I told Satan. I told Satan. I told Satan. You can't stop me, Satan. I told on Satan. You can't block me, Satan. I told on Satan. I got the victory, Satan. I told Satan. I rebuke you. I rebuke you. I rebuke you. Get thee behind. Yeah. Victory today is yeah. Victory is mine. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Turn around, tell somebody, yes, it is. Give somebody a high five and tell them, yes, it is. They try to say that our traditional gospel music is about to be a thing of the past. But you know what I tell them? I said, if you get in trouble, you're going to have to go back to the same old music. If you walk in the doctor's office and he tell you you got 6 months to live, the hip-hop ain't going to help you. You're going to have to fall down on your knees every now and then and say, I need, help me say, the old, I need, anybody need him tonight? Yes, sir, I need. Oh, bless me now, Master. Lift those hands and just God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. You know, it gets dark sometimes, but when it gets dark in your life, the sun can be shining, but it can be dark in your life. Oh, y'all want to hear this? When it gets dark in your life, you can reach back, go down Old School Boulevard again, and come back up and get this one and say, shine. Oh, how many of you like tonight? Can it shine? Oh, me. I'm going to sit down in a minute. Let the light. This is what I was raised on. From the light. Help me say it. Come on. Shine. Y'all help me one more time. Say, shine. Oh, shine on me. Oh, I feel like having church in here. Shine. Oh, me. Let it keep on shining. Oh, God bless you.
Wow, that's wonderful. God, we need your glory. So we're going to make this declaration tonight.
Connecting the community through gospel.
The new 107.9 FM, W300EB.
and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Mother Georgia, she's back on live, the historic 980 WDO. Brenda Sutton, let's go live into the studio with the host, Brenda Sutton.
Hello, 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 and happy Monday.
Yes. Hey.
So what's up, Emily, with that Vibe shirt on?
You know, I'm just feeling the vibes. Can y'all see?
I think they can.
It's all about the vibes.
Oh, you know what? He's getting on us because, we got to get these mic right. I don't know why Mr. Jackson be picking at us. He know we're not used to nothing new.
My mic is right in my mouth.
I don't know. Mine is, I guess he's trying to turn it up. Is it my mic that's off, Mr. Jackson?
It's
Emily.
mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was your
I
mic.
can hear it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was off. You need to fix things, huh? Uh-oh. He's still
Lord,
fussing
he want
about
me to
that
be
light.
light. He color struck. He want me to be light skinned.
Well, Emily, I don't know why the deal is. It ain't like, you do have a lot of white in you. Understand that now.
you keep saying it. I have what, 10%?
You have more than 10%.
10%.
You got
12?
more- you got
maybe
more,
12.
You got more than 12.
Well, we know you got about 80, so you got about 80% colonizer in your DNA. So
Well, that's true. That's true. We want to ask you to hit
hey
that.
Sheila.
Hey, Sheila, what's up? Yeah, we missed you too. How you doing, baby? We want to ask y'all to hit that share button. We need to have share. Don't we, Emily?
Mm-hmm.
And those that are on the, driving in your cars, drive safe. These people are making you drive crazy, don't they?
Listen, I mean, straight crazy.
I mean, I was driving and they were driving all over the road and stuff like that. And it's just kind of bad, Emily. I'm just like, man, you got to look out for you, the other person in front, the other person behind.
It's crazy. I me and Jimmy were coming home from somewhere the other night, and a car crossed all 3 lanes, cut us off, came straight across.
Yeah.
To get off on that, it was a Spring Street exit. And I told Jimmy, let's just get home. Just get us home safe, because these folks out here crazy.
I know it. And that's just kind of what it is. To all our listeners, I see we got some out here, and we want to tell you hello. If we missed you, thank you for tuning in. We're going to have a great show. First of all,
yes.
Let me just go to Deacon Durong. I think that he is touring with that stage play, Justice.
I think so.
What is it? What's the name of that play? Justice.
I don't know. Justice on Trial. I think
Justice on Trial.
Yeah.
So I think he's out of town. You know how he is when you think he's so important.
Yes,
that's what he
Lord.
does. He thinks he's so important. That he drives Lexus and stuff. But he ain't here to defend himself, so we can throw all kind of shade
I
on
know.
Johnny.
And we need to thank our big hen attorney, Henry E. Williams, for sponsoring our show today. Attorney Henry E. Williams. Hopefully he'll show up today. We'll get a chance to talk to him. Yeah. So
I hope so. He's trying to find us because we're in a new studio. He knew how to find us in the old studio. And then he says, "Babe, is your car outside?" I'm like, Lord help him. Lord help him.
you're gonna get off of my friend. That's what you're gonna do.
We had an interesting case. He did his really, like, I won't say his first case, because he'd done a couple of, but this was his first appearance. It was in Mag Court today. And I just kind of want to throw this out to my listeners, because I thought this was really interesting as to what's going on. How many people have experienced this? I know of a client who received.
We spoke him up.
We spoke him up. Hey, honey pie.
We got a fresh cut and everything. Okay, come through, hen dog, with the fresh cut.
And you need to get rid of that mask so it make you look like Pinocchio. You got something on.
What you ain't finna do is come for Henry. Let him get in good before we come for him.
That's true. Babe, you look cute with your mask on. Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you infect me.
That's right.
Ain't nobody trying to infect you.
That's right.
See, don't get started here.
You go around people. You just love people. You go around anybody. I'm not gonna let you.
Well, you need to get that mic. You need to get that mic to your mouth so people can hear what you're saying. See.
Well, the point is, I wear a mask because it protects me,
Okay.
and I need
That's right.
protection from you.
You know what
Right.
though, Henry, I was going to share with them, and I just kind of want to get a feel for my listener audience. How many people who tapped into that? I think it was the COVID rent relief, because a lot of people got that. But I'm finding out through the grapevine that some people got that relief from COVID, the landlords, and they're still putting people out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So if
They're claiming that they didn't, that there was a mistake in what they claim was owed, and the tenants owe more than what was paid
Oh wow.
by the Georgia real estate.
Right. And so I want to
Or
know
the
how
federal
many
real
people.
estate.
Yeah, I want to know how many people have experienced that. If you haven't, do you know anybody who's experienced it? I heard it. In fact, Henry is working on with one of our clients.
Right.
And then as I was coming out the bank, I approached another lady. I said, "Well, have you ever heard of this?" And she was like, "Yeah."
And when I found out about it, I did it pro bono, by the way, because I don't like people taking advantage of people because they are disadvantaged.
I like that. See, that's why we love Henry, attorney Henry E. Williams.
We just love you, Henry. I mean, I really do, because he does have a big heart like that. But when you're talking about people and not having a place to live, see, that's one thing. But that's what they do, Emily. They always want to get rid of them. Okay, so they couldn't get rid of them, but they wait good till they got that big check from the government that and they got that check, and then once they got that check, and people naturally, some people are behind, and but once they got that check, they found a way to put them out.
But don't they have to, once you get those funds from the federal government, don't you have to apply those to, like, some of the ones that had that owed back mortgage because their tenants weren't paying? Don't they have a responsibility?
They did all of that, and
but if they conjure the ledger to say that actually, instead of 15,000, you actually owe 20,000, and so you got to come up with another 5,000.
So and if you
and unfortunately, the representation is not easy, because clients that I have that are in that situation don't keep good records. But the landlord got the records.
The landlord got the record,
and so their records are conjured to show there's a deficit of 5,000. So now they're being put out about the 5,000, even though they have pocketed the 15,000
from the government. They've already gotten that money now.
Wow.
And so I want people to know about that.
It would be good to keep records of what was claimed that you owed before they submitted the application for the COVID relief. COVID relief, excuse me. I'm pronouncing words like you, baby girl. And so if you got that in your records and they said that it was a certain amount, and now claiming it was more, then they need to justify. Oh, like, for example, the client that I'm representing now, the landlord said, "Oh, we made a mistake when we submitted the application." Okay, well, but you got it signed in an affidavit that's all that's owed. Now, how do you just change your sworn statement? They have to be challenged on that, and I don't mind challenging them on it.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I wanted to put it out there because a lot of times people in their cars, Henry, and they listen to us. We have a lot of people that listen to us that are in the same situation. They've gotten, and really, Emily, they've gotten thousands, tens of thousands of dollars from the government to pay rent, to pay the rent for the people. And they
still putting people out.
Yeah, they still putting them out. They still putting them out. They'll conjure up, as Henry would say, they conjure up a reason to put them out because they want them gone anyway. So there you go. So that's, they'll say, okay, they owe back rent or whatever. So, but if that has ever happened to you, please, 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 give us a call. Give us our call-in number, Emily.
Excuse me. Our call-in number is 478-250-1444. Again, 478-250-1444. for.
And
You guys call us.
And I know a lot of times they'll say go to legal aid. Well, legal aid is just stretched.
Yeah.
And then Middle Georgia Justice is stretched, because they've got all these other cases. So a lot of times people don't have anyone to go to. And unfortunately, everybody's not like Henry that can accept, a case like this every now and then, because he does every now and then. This is the kind of case, like I said, we want to make sure that nobody's put out, because I don't want to see anybody. We've been dealing with homelessness here in Macon for a long time, and a lot of times, these are long time residents in that particular area. These some dirty folk. They're some dirty and greedy people.
It breaks my heart, and lawyers ought to do more pro bono work than being done.
Yeah, and maybe
there are some, and by the way, there are some lawyers that do sign up with Georgia Legal Services that will take pro bono work from them, but they're far and few. But there are some.
And then too, let's just be real. Since COVID, a lot of the lawyers haven't gotten the resources that they need to live.
Correct.
So they really don't have, it's not like, with you, Emily, COVID helped your business because people were sitting at home taking baths and stuff, rubbing on them crusty feet.
It did. It helped with that aspect, but then on my personal side, we couldn't work I didn't work from March 16th is when we were shut down all the way to July.
Wow.
So I went without work from March all the way to July.
And so and that's what I'm saying about you with a lot of lawyers, Henry. We did work, and then I teleworked, and then Henry, you were just kind of like doing a little something, and then you were teleworking. But a lot of people just didn't have, the money. And to tell you the truth, I don't know where do people getting all this money from now.
Oh, I do. Pick me, please. Okay. It's called PPP fraud.
Yeah, like there's a pastor. There's a pastor that's just been indicted for getting a 40,000 PPP and bought a Mercedes.
Bought a Benz. He sure did.
Reverend Chicken Wayne did that.
Well,
in South Georgia, somewhere in South Georgia.
Henry, ain't that your negative? Was he from Newton or Baker County?
I'm not going to identify anybody, but
you can easily Google it. It's been all over the news and everything.
Was that one of your friends, Henry?
It's in South Georgia. Let's leave it at that.
I'm gonna find out who it is. Y'all can go on there because Henry don't like for you to talk about Baker County. I bet was it your preacher in Baker County page?
See you being messy.
She being messy. She can't help herself.
Messy times 1,000.
She can't help herself.
But you know what though? But yeah, the PPP fraud. I know. I won't say no name because some of them be in my family. That's why I say I can't say no name. But they got this money. I'm like, they weren't working before.
Well, here's the thing, and I got the PPP, but I have a legitimate business. And when it was time for us to do the first one, to do the forgiveness, I got mine completely forgiven. But I also did exactly what I was told to do with the money, or what the money was for, which initially with the first round, kept good records. And the first round, you were allowed to pay your rent, like if you had owed rent to your landlord for your commercial business, you could pay utilities. So payroll. So payroll, utilities, and rent. Those were the three things that you could use that initial PPP loan for.
Correct.
So if you kept accurate records, that was easy to get it forgiven, the loan forgiven. So mine was completely forgiven. Now the second go around, which is how a lot of these people are going to attempt to justify using the money, it was you could use it for rent, for utilities, for payroll, and supplies.
Correct.
So the supplies part is the part where it's, that just busts things wide open, because what you consider a supply for your business, that's up to your own discernment or judgment. I may say, okay, well, I like the pastor, I needed a new Benz because I had to drive around and pasture to my flock. So that's a business expense.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of different things that you could spend that money on and then turn around and say, well, it was a business supply. So, but I think where a lot of people are going to get in trouble that got the 20,000 and the 40,000 is when it comes time to get the loan forgiven, and you can't show real accurate records of what you did with the money or receipts of what you actually did with the money. Because remember, it still has to be approved. Even if you have receipts for every single dime you use, it still has to be approved. And that's where people are going to start going to jail. It's because you don't have any records to show what you did with $40,000.
That's correct.
By the way, Mr. Williams, why don't you just tell him about Mr. Child Support and that $20,000 PPP?
I've had some tragic cases because the people knew that they couldn't afford to pay higher child support. But if your records that you turned in to get the PPP suggested that you're entitled to $40,000 as an example.
Right.
Because
I already know where you're going with this. So that means if you're entitled to $40,000, if you go back, and those of you that know how this PPP thing works, if you do the math, that means that you made over $100,000 last year. But I'm sure you didn't report that, and your child support reflects whatever it is you supposedly reported. So now that you done asked for $40,000 and got it approved, which means that you made over $100,000. So child support coming for you, buddy.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
and then when you get on the stand and take an oath and swear you're telling the truth now, how credible is that when you signed an affidavit on the oath that said something totally different? And you can't explain that. And so, I often tell clients, a sworn statement means what it says, and you either gonna, if they believe that you misled the government on the affidavit, then that's that's fraud. So if you admit that you lied, that's perjury. Now, how many years you want to do? You want to do the years for the fraud count, or you want to do the perjury count?
And then not only that, it is going to affect your child support payment,
right?
Because you go in and because I do a lot of child support calculations with mediation. So if you got that $20,000, I'm gonna count that. I'm gonna add that on top, right, of what you say you made, which increases your child support. That's what I'm gonna do.
And not only that, I think that people are not realizing you had a lot of people, and I know people, that have done this. That you're getting food stamps, you're getting TANF, you're getting WIC, you're getting Section 8, you're getting government housing or assistance from the government, but then you went and got a $20,000 PPP loan or $40,000 PPP loan. Now you done been getting all of this government assistance, and what they don't realize is those agencies actually are interconnected and they talk to each other.
Of course.
So it's only a matter of time. If you lied and got that money and you were on Section 8, if you were getting food stamps or any type of government assistance, you now have to pay all of that money back. Because remember, the PPP loans were based off of your business earnings for 2019.
Correct.
Right? So you're talking about, this is 3 years ago, right? 2 years ago, for that entire year of 2019. So you're telling these people that in 2019, I made $100,000, right? Or I made, $75,000, but you were getting food stamps and you were getting Section 8. So now Section 8 is like, well, you didn't tell us you were making that kind of money. So that's where the issue is going to come in. And people don't think that the government is going to catch back up with me, but eventually they will. And it's not going to take long because they got to give that money back. They took trillions of dollars for these 4 stimulus packages. Don't you think they're going to get that money back some kind of way?
And that's different forms of government, because you have local government looking for license fees. I didn't know you had a business that was making that kind of money.
Exactly.
So you didn't buy a license. So
you didn't pay taxes on any of that money.
I got a call a couple of weeks ago where somebody wanted me to defend them on a license issue, and I'm like, well, if you said you were in business in 2019, right, and you made enough money to get qualified for $40,000 in 2020, you had to be in business to say you deserve the money, right? And the city government see that and say you didn't buy a license,
right? Exactly.
Figure out what you need to do. Save the money to do that. Don't go buy you a Mercedes Benz.
Right.
At least sit down and get somebody to figure out what do I need to do to legitimize or give the appearance of legitimacy.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, y'all ain't even trying to be legitimate. And what's even crazy, the ones that are running out all of a sudden and getting the LLC. Like, sir, that you should have had the LLC in 2019, not in 2021.
Right.
You know, and it behooves me. I'm baffled at the amount of people that I know that, you know, that have gotten a PPP loan and, you know, that falsified documents rather in order to get the loan. And I'm like, but aren't just inside in your spirit, just, you know, worried and angst, knowing that eventually they're going to catch up with you, because if you made $100,000, you didn't pay any taxes on that. So don't you think they're going to be like, well, this person claimed that they made $100,000. We done gave them a PPP loan, but where are the tax dollars to show for that?
Correct.
Because the city on the local level, they want their taxes, and the state want their taxes, and the federal government want their taxes. And you ain't pay now 3 of them.
That's right.
So, you know, this is a serious situation. And this guy's just one example. I know a good friend of mine, well, used to be a good friend of mine. We didn't fall out. We just kind of lost touch. Hairstylist out of Atlanta. She got arrested about 2 or 3 months ago. She got arrested, and for same thing, PPP fraud. I think she got almost 100,000.
Wow.
She got 100,000, claiming that, you know, her hair salon made over $1 million. While that's extremely unlikely. I've been in the beauty industry. A salon making that, unless you're charging, you know, $1,000, $2,000 per head, you're not bringing in $1 million.
Right.
You know, at a hair
salons,
salon.
by the way, have been in trouble for some time because
Mhm.
I've represented some. And what happened is that they will deduct their supplies, which is expensive, but they claim they've not done that many customers when it came to the income portion.
Right.
And so, you know, the IRS has gotten smart. They have now averaged out the number of hairdos that are generally done by the honest salons. Oh, let's just say you buy a bottle of shampoo, and on the average, you can do 20 customers on that for the honest salon. But when it came to your particular salon, you claiming you only did 5.
Right.
And what you turned in is what you made.
Right. But you bought 10 bottles of shampoo.
10 bottles of shampoo.
Right.
And so those are the things that they've been choking on for some time now. And I spoke to a group of salons and told them this is coming. And you know, I asked them to organize LLCs. I asked them to keep good records. So they've been in trouble for some time, and this PPP has just put them further under.
Right.
You know, I'm looking at an article right here where it's gone to Northern District of Georgia. 22 defendants charged in connection with alleged $11.1 million Paycheck Protection Program fraud scheme.
11 million, you said?
$11.1 million.
Wow.
See, that's the thing. You know, people need to stop thinking that the government's stupid. That's, you know, I can't tell you how many people say, Brenda, you and Henry gonna get y'all some of that PPP, cause so-and-so can fix your paper up for $5,000.
Yeah.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
For $5,000, you know, they can fix your paper up and you and Henry can get $15,000. I said to myself, I wish I would. I ain't going to jail
for no $15,000. Yeah.
You know, because they were making now this was the scheme. $5,000 to fix your
to do your paperwork.
Do your paperwork. And they kept 5 and gave you 15.
Yeah.
And by the way,
that's still the going scheme.
Yes, and the person that prepared the paperwork has no accountability.
Has no liability.
Exactly. And they're falsifying the documents, and that's how another one of my friends in Atlanta got caught up again. They ended up using her aunt putting the loan basically in the aunt's name. Well, the aunt was like, I think 78, I believe her aunt was. So, and it hurt me to my core, to my spirit. I was like, how the heck do you do that to your 78-year-old aunt, thinking that obviously, thinking that she would never get caught up with, but some paperwork came to the aunt's house. So the aunt opens it up and was like, I ain't got no $40,000 loan. Let me call these people. So she done called the darn IRS. Said, no, that wasn't me. I ain't getting no $40,000. Yes, ma'am. We issued you a $40,000 PPP loan. And so she ends up, and long story short, turns out that the niece got the loan in the aunt's name. So the sad thing is that the aunt is now legally responsible because the loan was taken out in her name. And I said, how do you do your loved ones like that? Like who, that thought of doing something like that, real talk, would have never crossed my mind to do my aunts or my uncles or my grandparents. Like, how do you fix yourself to do that, knowing that there may be a possibility that you could get caught up with? I just don't understand that.
For our
that's
listeners,
a new one for me, because I was just getting accustomed to parents that are ruining their children credit before they get 18 because they're putting the lights in their name. They're putting this in their name, credit cards in their name. And I bet you now that the PPP is going in their name, and they in trouble, and they ain't grown enough to get a car yet.
But Emily and I and Johnny did a show, and I don't know if you guys remember, our listeners, but we went through and we put the list out. Remember that? I think I got the website from you, and we started looking through to see who in Macon got that PPP.
Oh yeah, it's actually, and this is public knowledge. It's called COVID Tracker, and it's a federal, it's a website rather that you can go to. Because another thing that people don't realize is the PPP funds are that's borrowed money from the federal government, so that's public record.
Correct.
So you can actually go and see if your local church got any money, if your local businesses got any money, if you're the company that you work for, if they got any money, and it's all right there. And I've frequented that website, and I've looked on there and seen some of the businesses that got money, or some of the names, people that have DBAs, and I'm like, I know good and well I know you personally, and I know you don't have a business.
Right.
So it's sad, and people say, oh, well, you should just mind your business. I said, well, this is the thing. It is my business, and I'm going to tell you why. You had a lot of businesses, one such as myself, that needed more funds, but more funds weren't available.
Correct.
And you wonder, well, the package was for, $1 trillion to give out to businesses, these SBAs, and I mean, through the SBA, these PPPs. And you say, well, I couldn't get, 10,000 of that $1 trillion. Why? Well, because you had businesses, people that weren't legitimate, that were taking funds that should have went for the small businesses. And you had small businesses such as myself that didn't know how to fill out the paperwork, that didn't know exactly what they qualified for.
Or didn't have time.
And fortunately, I was able to take mine to the bank, the guy that owned my that owns the building that I lease here in Macon at my Macon store. And it just so happened that his father was the president of the bank. And so he said, hey, did you get any of the P? I said, no, I don't even know how to apply for any of that. I said, I wouldn't even know where to begin. He said, go see my dad. So I went to see his dad, and his dad, did everything for me. He was like, all I need is your tax returns from 2018, 2019. I sent it to him. He said, based on your tax returns, this is what you reported to the IRS. He said, we're going to base your payment, or what we're going to ask for in terms of the PPP, based solely off of this. That way you can't get in any trouble. We can't get any trouble. So because, of course, I already had a legitimate established business, that wasn't an issue at all. And so I got exactly what I qualified to get. So for me, I was never worried because I know I didn't get more than what I was supposed to get. And, of course I would have liked to get more, but he was like, no, because that's where, you get in trouble
Right.
when you're trying to get more and you get greedy. So a lot of these people falsified their IRS. I know one girl in particular, she went and filed an amended return to make it seem like she actually made more money in 2019 so that she could qualify for a larger PPP loan. And I'm like, yeah, y'all, you have no idea.
And you don't think the IRS gonna want their share?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, eventually, and it may not happen this year, next year, but with it, and that's how it always happens with the IRS and auditing. 3, 4 year, 5, sometimes 8, 9 years down the line, they come back. Hey, we didn't get that money from you. You said you made XYZ and you filed amended return and you owe us $20,000 plus we want interest on all of that.
Penalties and interest.
Right.
See, that's one reason why, like I said, they said, Henry has a legitimate business with what, with the law firm. I was like, I ain't studying that. I'm not going to do that because I didn't want them in my business.
Right.
I just didn't want them in my business. I'm uncomfortable with that. I just know that I wanted to bring out the PPP. I wanted to bring out some of that stuff because I'm like, these people doing some dirty stuff. All I can tell you, just like Henry said, keep good records. That's for one. Keep really, really, really good records, and be mindful because they're putting people out after they get the money. And I hope the people who are providing the funding to these particular landlords and such, double check with your tenants and see if they're being put out because they are. And they're not really able to go to, like I said, to legal aid or to Middle Georgia Justice, which they do help them, but it's so many of those cases because they just want them gone. They ain't like them no way. So any reason to get them put out the house, that's what they're going to do. So,
and what they're also going to do is raise the rent. They're going to put you out.
Correct.
And then once they clean it up, some of them will use the PPP funds to clean, repaint, and then they're going to skyrocket the rent. So the rent may have been $700 Now they're going to charge, $800 or $900 and get people in there and, charge more rent.
You're so right. I spoke to a lady today. We were just talking about the housing market, and the housing market is just skyrocketed. And I said, why is the housing market so high?
Such a sore subject for me right now.
Oh, Emily, it's bad. And I said, why is the housing market high? Well, the housing market is high because one, investors are coming in, they're buying up all the houses from out of town because they got like a boatload of money because they've come from north. They don't want to be up north anymore because it's because
too high.
Because it's blue.
And I have no doubt that some of that is the PPP money.
Absolutely.
But some they want to come down here to a red state, and that's just keeping it real. And so they come here and they buy the houses. They buy the houses high where the local people can't afford the houses because they're buying the houses. Until they're jacking up the prices. And then I understand they're doing the same thing. They're going there with the rent. They're buying up these places, they're fixing them up, and then they're jacking up the rent where the local people can't afford them. And what happens then we have a housing problem.
Yeah, you got all of this property.
It's a trickle down. It's a trickle down.
Trickle down economics. Yeah.
Trickle down economics to it. So it's just a big mess. So
no, what were we actually supposed to be talking about today? We're supposed to be talking, and that's a good subject. What we're actually supposed to be talking about.
We're supposed to be talking about when, and this is a good one. When do you say quit to your husband or wife or in a relationship?
Your significant other. That is a hard question. Everybody wants to use the word toxic. That's the new word, here lately. It's toxic. It's toxic. It's toxic. And I think it's different for everybody. And I always say, I think it's time to walk away when it's no longer working for you. Because sometimes we stay for a plethora of reasons. We stay, for the children. We want to give the children a stable household. Or we stay for financial reasons. Or we stay because we don't want people in the community talking. Or, there's a lot of reasons why both men and women stay in relationships that are just not healthy. So it's hard. Like my husband and I, we had marriage counseling, and honestly was probably the best thing that we could have ever done, because I was at a point where I wanted to call it quits, but not because I didn't love him. It was just like, I'm out of ideas. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. And, there is a stigma in the Black community about getting help, whether it's mental health, whether, you seek counseling for mental health or marriage counseling. They always want to say, well, go talk to your pastor. Well, sometimes the pastor ain't always got the answer. Sometimes you need to go to a trained professional that is able to handle what real relationships go through. And I'm not, knocking, talking to your pastor or anything like that. But I think that there is an unspoken sad rule in the African American community about not seeking the help when you need the help. And so I went out of desperation. I was like, look, something is definitely off here. And for us, there was no infidelity, no cheating or anything like that. It was just the energy. Something was off. And I felt that something was off. And I was like, I was at the point where I was ready to walk away just because I was at my wit's end. I was like, I just don't want to anymore. I just don't. But I loved him enough to say, you know what? Let me go get some help. Let's see if there's something that I'm not doing, or something that that I could be doing that I'm not even aware of, and I think it's super important to do self-checks. Like, we always think we're right. Most humans think, my opinion is right and what I feel is right, but sometimes you're just wrong. And it's okay. Like, I've gotten to the point now where I understand that sometimes I'm just wrong, and it's okay to be wrong.
Well, Emily, I think that's a very good start in the scenario that you have painted, because from the legal end, I get a number of clients who want to use the divorce system as a weapon. And that's the wrong reason. Because, just in life, when you pull a weapon, you better be ready to use it.
Right.
And it doesn't always net the benefit that you're seeking. So I cannot tell you the number of spouses that come to me to hire me to handle a divorce, and they're trying to frustrate the process when it's moving along, because the divorce was not what they really wanted. They wanted to use it as a weapon. So it would make more sense than paying a lawyer to paying a counselor to talk you through what it is you really want, so that you have your mind made up by the time you pay the money to a lawyer to go through the process. Right. So that's the point I want to make.
Now, I just kind of want to chime in. Now, getting back to, when did I know it was enough with mine? When I was at the end of my wits and wanted a divorce, is when it didn't matter. When it got to the point that I could walk away with nothing, and I mean just walk away with nothing, I knew it was over, because I was done. And so I think that counseling, I know counseling wouldn't have helped. Nothing would have helped, because I was finished. And I do believe that in your heart of hearts, Henry, I wasn't trying to play a game and trying to browbeat him or anything like that to try to make him come back and want me. I didn't care if he wanted me or not. It was done. I put a fork in it. It was over. And I think that is when you kind of know in your heart. For me, I knew in my heart was over, because I felt like I was just, I'm gonna say I had nothing to lose. I could walk away from the money. I could walk away from the house. I could walk away from all of that. And I did.
For the peace of mind,
but
to have
ain't nothing like peace.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like peace now. I mean, because, and see, in your case, you wanted your marriage. It's a difference. It's a difference. But not just you, Emily. Both of you wanted the marriage. Now that's the ticket, because a lot of times you'll have one person that wanted. A
lot of us guys feel like if you suggest going to a counselor, you're just trying to trap me into something that you done already talked to this person, and you just want to pull me in and have them browbeat me too. Right. I'm not, especially.
And that's a good point. No, Henry is 100% correct. And I chose, because I have several clients of mine that are mental health professionals, licensed counselors, and so on and so forth. And I actually chose a counselor that was Caucasian, that did not live here, so she didn't know who I was. She didn't know who my husband was. I wanted somebody that was so platonic that she could not choose sides. And I knew that for my husband, that would work for him because I didn't want him to feel that I had chosen somebody that would be biased
Correct.
to me.
And that's our first suspicion if you choose somebody that you already know.
And I would be too as a female. I'd be like, well, why did you choose him? Or, or why did you choose her? Oh, that's your cousin? No, we ain't going to, no.
But a lot of times, because you said, when do you walk away? Well, first of all, I think you should walk away if you've been physically abused.
Oh, absolutely.
Physically and verbally abused, you need to walk.
Right.
And don't get that confused with, I really love him. And I love her, because there's a lot of men out there, and I know that y'all ain't going to admit it, but there's a lot of men out there who abuse. You won't tell anybody because you're ashamed of it. But there's a lot of women that throw things, pick up knives at people. You know what I'm just saying? And what women are very good at, typically men are too, but women are in it too. They're emotionally abusive like you wouldn't believe. Play games with the children, just do different things like that. So, that's one side when you need to go when they hurt your pet.
Well, the courts used to be so biased in favor of the women. Not only as a male divorcee, but as a male lawyer, I've seen it too much where whatever judge you face is basically been raised by a mother, so they're going to be naturally biased. And the system was like that for a long time. But the guys, when we started thinking about it, we're glad y'all just demanded equal rights, because you also got equal responsibility.
Right.
And the judges who've gone through divorces themselves now, things have kind of equalized. And so it's a fairer shake for a man in court now than it used to be.
Well, and I agree with you on that. But I would just say with men, I think sometimes when they really, because some men ask for counseling. You've had some clients who said that they wanted to have counseling, but then again, it takes both sides. If one side won't counseling, the other side don't want counseling, then it's not going to work. And so I always tell there's a backstory there, don't it, baby? As there's a backstory, you better be careful, because there's some things that that you're being pulled into. And he is absolutely correct in, why waste your lawyer's time at $225 an hour when you can go pay a counsel, $60, $70 an hour?
Oh, not well, mine are way more than that, but still.
That's what it used to be.
Oh no, it's way higher than that now. But and even that's a sacrifice, because I did find out that through COVID, some bill that was passed that your insurance now is supposed to cover a mental health counselor due to COVID.
Oh, I need to check that.
So your insurance is supposed to cover that now.
That's interesting. I didn't
cover
know that.
like counseling, because I would say that, because Henry and I are newlyweds, and we've been in a house together, which really,
you don't treat me like a newlywed.
See, there you go.
Oh, see, that's right. We're on the radio. Go ahead.
And now you're on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
His face was so cute. You don't treat me like a newlywed.
See, they told us what we can't do on the radio, didn't they? Right. They said we on the Christian show, honey. Don't.
We ain't said nothing bad yet.
No, I'm gonna wait till I get off and get you when I get home. But I think that COVID introduced a lot of dynamics. And for those that are listening, I was in the courthouse today and I asked, and they're actually starting to slowly open up court.
Yes. They're
slowly bringing in jurors. And I asked, when was divorce court going to be going? They said it's already going, but it's slow. So I don't know exactly, that's a good thing, but they still 2 years behind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, COVID's been for 2 years.
Yeah.
So when people are like, I'm going to get a divorce. Oh, okay. And I don't agree on nothing. Oh, okay. So you talking about 3 years before you get on the calendar, right? A lot can happen in 3 years. So it's not fast. Like if I'm, I don't know if it was a way, that's why I love mediation. If it was a way to work it out, you may want to try to do that.
Yeah.
so that you don't have to wait all that time.
Mhm.
But a lot of times, COVID, Henry is being the way he is, he's so Henry real low down. And he said for the people who had, extras on the, the extramarital things, it was real hard on them during COVID. And I can't say
that was a joke.
Oh, that was a joke.
That was a joke that I was talking to you about. I just said, all right.
You can't say that. You can't say that on the air. You can't say that on the air because it's a Christian show. So you can't say that.
But you know what's funny
you act like Christians don't have affairs.
Right.
You supposed to get us kicked off now.
No, it's the truth.
It's the
Christians
truth.
are human beings.
Y'all supposed to get me kicked off the show. Kicked out. Mr. Jackson, I'm trying. Mr. Jackson, I'm trying. I'm trying, Mr. Jackson. I'm trying to control.
You know what's funny though is Henry does not budge and does not flinch. I think Brenda talks so much junk. Henry has become immune to your foolishness because he just look at you. Remember I said, Henry just be looking at you like, Lord, what I done got myself into. It's so funny, yeah.
But Henry, I love Henry. Henry loved me. And speaking of counseling, that's one of the things that we did prior to getting married is that we went to marital counseling and we took a communication assessment. And I would say that for anybody, if you haven't got to that point that you're just like, I'm done with it, and even in the relationship, I know now that, because I was single for 20 years, I should have been doing those assessments when I was dating. I really do, because I think that was the problem. It
wasn't necessary. You were just waiting for me.
Oh, baby. Oh, you're so sweet.
Honey, my bell.
Now that's where the bell ought to ring because that was so inappropriate, But anyway,
I was waiting for you, honey.
Oh
no,
yeah.
I know. I'm just saying that I think.
But here's the thing. All I'm saying is, counseling will help with children, especially when there are minor children involved. It will help in saying, okay, you know what? We've been through the counseling process. We now know that we don't want to be married to one another. It isn't working. So wouldn't it be so much better to go to your office after you file, mediate, and agree that we can't make it. So let's do what's best for the children instead of fighting each other over the children.
And that's what I'm telling you. That means that is not over. And that's what we were talking about today.
Yeah.
When do you know it's over? When you don't hold a grudge.
Right, when you can just walk away and be like, you know what? I wish you well. Be blessed.
Yeah.
And really mean
friends,
it.
And friends even.
Yeah.
Like we can all go out for like a birthday, or you can bring your partner. It ain't like it's nothing going on there. So that's when you know it's over. When I go down to my ex's place. Y'all know my ex said chicken wing. I wasn't gonna throw him a shout out. I ain't saying the name, and baby, I ain't gonna say his name. I ain't gonna give him no free publicity. But my children daddy, and I go down there and buy chicken from him with your money. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You're so messy.
She did. She spent my money and went and bought some chicken and took it to the hospital and fed the hospital folks when her mother was in the hospital.
That ain't some low down messy
I'm trying
mess.
to tell you, but spent my money now,
right,
to go buy the hospital folks some food.
Brenda Leanne Williams.
I did, and
I'm glad you admitted that. You think I didn't know that?
But I did it. I did it because my children daddy sell good chicken wing. I got my 80 jokes for other things.
Well, you kind of owed him because you made him burn the chicken when you married me. That's one of the reasons I didn't say very much. But anyway,
listen, if he listening right now, he probably done burn up the next order.
I understand.
He probably didn't lit him up. Y'all don't go down there and buy no chicken. Because if you get some chicken from down there today, he probably didn't set it home. They probably extra crispy.
I would go visit him and buy some chicken myself because I want to thank him for getting rid of you because that made you available for me. But I've been looking for you for years.
Oh,
I didn't think you were possible.
Oh, see
that's so sweet. Tear.
I got one. I got about 5. Honey, you're so sweet.
That's why you got to be nice to him. But here's the thing, like you said, you knew when it was time for you to leave, when you were completely content with leaving, and you didn't have any
Oh,
regrets.
yeah.
You didn't have any anger. And I think a lot of times when people leave, they're angry when they leave.
Well,
And I can't, say to not to leave or to not leave when you're angry. But sometimes I think when you're angry, that anger is coming from somewhere. And that's why I feel like counseling is the best solution, because you need to figure out where the anger is coming from, because it
correct.
could be something that could easily be resolved, or that can be resolved between the two of you. And what I found out through counseling is that most of the time, whatever you're angry at, what you say you're angry about is not what you're actually angry about.
It's more often than not.
Right, exactly.
but you know what it is?
Yeah.
Why don't y'all just call it what it is? I'm mad because you want to leave.
Correct.
That's what it is. I say I don't want you, but then I'm mad because you're leaving. I don't know what kind of sense that's make, but that's really what the problem is. So, and really it's called I want to have my way. That's like a little child, throwing a temper tantrum. I want to have my way. My mama throw temper tantrums, and she in the hospital, she be throwing temper tantrums up in.
And I think that the temper tantrums come because people generally don't want to divorce. They don't want to break up. I don't think most people don't get married thinking they're going to end up in divorce. So I think on the man's part and the female's part, there's always that fight. And sometimes the man wants to see that the woman is willing to fight for him, and vice versa. The woman wants to feel like the guy is willing to fight for her. And neither one of them, a lot of times, don't really want to leave. They don't want to go through the hassle of a divorce. They don't want to go through, putting that much energy into such a negative institute, or such a negative, connotation when it comes to divorce. And getting the counseling is something that can help you guys sort through it, so that if you do decide that divorce is the best option, when you decide to go your separate ways, it's amicable, and you guys can walk away, like you said, being friends. You can walk away and not necessarily having to be friends, but we can walk away. And if I see you on the street, hey, Henry, how you doing? How's life going?
Correct.
How's your wife doing? Whatever the case may be. And even though we spent 20 years together, we left the marriage knowing that this is what was best for the both of us. Not, I'm left because I'm pissed off and I don't ever want to see you again. And, and then you end up having to get counseling for yourself because you got all of that energy that's there, and you can't even move on to a new relationship.
And that's the issue, though, with the relationship. We're gonna leave the marriage over here, but in a relationship, a lot of times the people are not seeing eye to eye. But I think it's because your expectations are not clear. And so when the person's expectations are not in line with what you want, then that becomes a problem right there. So, again, when do you leave? When you are not seeing eye to eye.
Well, sometimes it's not clear because it wasn't clear in the beginning.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
You got married for different reasons. So and sometimes the marriage was based upon a pregnancy. It was based upon circumstances,
stability, needing stability.
Correct. Now, after 45 years of practicing law, here's what I have come to in my experience in dealing with these matters. Some marriages, I would compare to holding a tiger by its tail. You can't hold that tiger, but you sure can afford to let it go. Because the consequences are dire either way. And so in many instances, they hold on to the piece of the marriage because it's what they've gotten so used to. It's like what my grandma used to say, you can get used to the 7-year itch, boy. So they get used to it and they don't want to let it go. They rather be at home fighting with one another than to just ferret it out in court and get it resolved. And so there gotta be some alternatives now that the system has slowed down. The system is not up and running. And so
let me say this. My husband, I've always for years been an advocate of getting marriage counseling. And I told my husband before we got married, I was like, I really think we need to go to counseling. I was pushing it. And he didn't want to do it. And keep in mind, this was, we've been together 20 years. He just, was not interested. He was like, we don't need that, blah, blah, blah. So here it is. You fast forward, we're at this point, and now we're finding ourselves going, to counseling. And so I told him, I said, had we gone through the counseling in the beginning, we probably would have never gotten married, because we were two people in two separate parts in our lives.
Mhm.
And when I say that, the age gap is a huge thing. And he's kind of at this point where I've been there, done that. And I'm over here at this point where I'm just beginning. Right. And there will always be that disconnect in that aspect of our marriage, because, it's kind of like when you've lived and you've done that already, you don't really want to do that again.
Right.
Right. And so here I am, I haven't done any of it, and I'm excited to do it again. So those are the things that, had we explored in the beginning, it would have altered our decision. It would have altered my decision.
Well, see, if you present it that way from a man's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
let me just say that sounds like a threatening thought, even though you didn't intend it that way.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of filter things
Differently.
differently than women do.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember when Brenda brought it up that she wanted me to take this test.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the gifts that we got was this
Myers and Briggs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I at first I was resistant to that. I didn't say anything. That just was my internal thought. But let's just say that I've been through a lot personally. I've been through 3 divorces.
Mm-hmm.
Before I met Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really given up on relationships because I'm a workaholic. I want to work, and I want my work done, and I just wanted someone to understand that if you got a man who enjoy working, who devote a lot of time to working, and you want the benefit of the lifestyle that you want, but you don't understand that the working is what
affords you that lifestyle.
Then Houston, we got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you want the lifestyle, but you don't want the work to be done. That makes no sense.
But
to me.
he has no problem with that with me,
Mm-hmm.
because I want him to work.
No, you're not right.
No, I really do. I encourage him to do that. We're getting close to the end of the show, but I do want to just fast forward to the Myers and Briggs. The Myers and Briggs helped us understand our communication style. I'm a very expressive person. I'm very outgoing. Henry is an introvert, and so he's very logical. And so I'm often
She feels through things, and I think through things.
And so
that's very accurate with both of y'all.
And so we learned through counseling that was the way that we communicated. And so when I get too deep in my feelings, he'll say, honey, you're in your feelings.
Yeah.
And then when he's doing his thinking, I said, well, you're
overthinking it.
You're overthinking it. So that it gave us an out, because we were told from the very beginning, if we didn't capture that, and if we didn't deal with that, then we would not have a marriage. I mean, he was just real upfront and open. He said, you're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
In order to have longevity in your relationship. So it does require a lot of work. But, again, I think for me, Emily, I got to have peace. I got to have peace.
I just want to say for the guys, it's not that I'm this wonderful guy, this great guy who just openly accepted Myers and Briggs. I was resistant at first, but I thought, what could it harm? This is marriage number 4. I don't want to go through divorce no more.
Yeah.
So I've got to find out up front. I didn't do that before. What if I do find, like you suggest, what if
Yeah.
I do find out at first?
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's better not to go into it than go
Right.
into it and now
Yeah.
got to go through this other process. So
Yeah.
we just got to be open and ready to receive as
Mhm.
well as we are ready to dish out.
Hmm.
We are.
That's the way to
I think that's the
summarize.
perfect way to end it.
I
That's
do too.
awesome.
Well, we're going to see you next week, and Mr. Henry, if Deacon Durong is not here, you think you can come back?
That'd be wonderful if you came back.
If Deacon Durong is not here, will you come back?
Sure. I'll be glad to.
That'd
You
be
know what?
wonderful.
We miss you. We miss you, Deacon Durong, because we know you had something to say with your chauvinist self.
Right.
We really want
His shoes
Look,
are
the
very
one person
difficult
that
to
don't
fill.
have a relationship, but he have the most
have
advice.
a relationship. He does have one.
With who?
Girl, he got a girl.
He got a boo.
He got a boo.
I'm not gonna let
Okay.
y'all talk about him in his
All
gospel.
right. All right. All right.
He does. He got a little girlfriend.
Well,
We
that's
don't know
good
that.
for him.
We don't know that.
Which we don't.
Grandpa got a girl.
Pop got a girlfriend.
Papa got a girlfriend.
All right.
So
Pop.
he has several friends.
No, he
That's
got
what
a
he has.
girlfriend. He's got like a girlfriend, like I'm your boo kind of. I'm your boo thing.
Well, we'll talk about that whenever we see him again. But until then, it was wonderful having you, Henry. Thank you for sponsoring our show. We love you for it.
Appreciate you, baby.
And you guys like, share this video. It will be up. You guys share it and comment. Okay, we love you. Bye.
You've been listening to All of a Sudden. Join them every Monday evening from 5:30 to 6:30. All of a Sudden with your host, Brenda Sutton. That's every Monday. We'll see you there.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants